Hey everyone, we're going to review the elf deck here a little bit more. There have been some comments through the forums and some instant messages or private messages I've received stating that, this deck was pretty much a known deck. What we've built here is it's pretty much every other sort of blue-green elf deck with Distant Melody. Really, if you compare the list that I've built to any of the other elf decks, they're probably within 6 to 10 cards of each other. We've changed it up a little bit. We've cut some forests for land grants, which really is sort of a natural progression for a type of deck like this, where you're not going to have a whole lot of tricks in your hands. I mean, revealing your hand, they're going to be able to plan a little bit better, but really a lot of times it's not really going to matter too much because you're going to typically have your entire hand on the board by the second or third turn. So, cutting forests for land grants, sort of just to smooth out, or not to smooth out the mana, but to lessen the amount of lands in the deck, sort of thinning out your deck a little bit by using land grant to fetch the forest. I think was sort of a natural progression for the deck. Also, what somebody had mentioned was that I'm only in the tournament practice room using the deck, and really that's not an accurate gauge of how good a deck is, because the competition you're going to be facing when in the tournament practice room is probably not top notch. People are, it is, the room is what it says it is. It's a tournament practice room. People are playing basically what we're doing. They're trying out new decks, or they're trying small tweaks or revisions to existing decks to sort of see how it is. So you're not necessarily facing all tier 1, 5 competition, and since it is free, you're not necessarily, people aren't playing the hardest they can. So what I plan to do is, after I feel that we get the deck to where we want it to, and we get a sideboard that we're comfortable with, and we have a good plan for sideboarding, I'll record some games taking it through the 2-man queues. If I have time to run a daily, I'll try to do that. Unfortunately, I'm very time constrained because I have a full-time job and family and things like that, and that's the reason why I kind of like the 2-man queues. I can sit down, play for 20-30 minutes, and get a game or two, and that's competitive, and that sometimes you win a couple booster packs, and maybe make a ticket or two, and it's just sort of it's more competitive than the tournament practice rooms or the free-for-all rooms, or any of the other rooms that you don't have to pay any tickets for. So there was a card that I saw that I wanted to try, and that was Strider Harness. Basically, this is what I did was I did a search for any card with haste that's legal in Pauper, and other than adding red to the deck, which I don't necessarily want to do right now. If this turns out to be a bad card, I'm all for trying it out to see if it's good or bad. But Strider Harness will allow us to give our creatures that come into play haste, so that way we can actually sort of surprise win, or win in one turn if we happen to get a couple Priest of Titanias, or the Elvish Branchbenders, or the Timberwatch Elves when we draw our Distant Melody. So I have been playing the deck a little bit more. That I haven't necessarily recorded any of the matches. I was just sort of getting a better feel for the deck, and I now believe the weakest card is actually the Huntmaster. Looking at the card, it's a 3/3 for 4 mana, and it's an elf, and it's fine. And anytime you cast an elf afterwards, you get another 1/1. This is actually, the card is more for if you maybe get into a stalemate and you need to swarm, basically where you need to make more attackers than they have defenders. But a lot of times, by the time you cast the Huntsmaster, you don't have too many cards in hand. Now, you could Distant Melody, cast more elves, get more 1/1 green elf creatures, but really by that time you're pretty much already going to win. Like, the extra 1/1s don't really push it over the top, or make it from an unwinnable position to a winnable position. So it might be something to sideboard games that might be more grindy. The other thing is that they're 1/1 token creatures, and they sort of fall into the same hate as Empty the Warrens or the Storm decks. So it's not like people unprepared for a horde of 1/1 elf tokens or a horde of 1/1 tokens. Everyone has sideboard cards for them. Sometimes people even have main deck cards for them, like 8 posts sometimes run main deck seismic shutters. I would say probably all of them at this point do. You know, black decks run Echoing Decay, sometimes the blue decks run Echoing Truth, and so I just feel that this, playing the deck a couple times now, I feel like this is actually the weakest card, so I'm going to actually remove this card. And it sort of keeps our casting cost in line, because really Strider Harness is, you know, 4 casting cost piece of equipment basically. It's 3 to cast, 1 to equip, but you can spread it out over 2 turns obviously. So we're going to go ahead and save this, and we're just going to run a couple more practice games, and then after that I think I'm going to try to build a sideboard for it, and sort of see how it goes from there. I'm actually just going to play 2 games, even though I don't necessarily have a sideboard at the moment. You know, getting multiple games in. This is not a great hand. Not knowing what I'm playing, I'm actually going to mulligan this. And now see, even if this was, say, the Huntsmaster, this still would not be a great hand. This is also not a great hand, but it's probably going to be better than my 5-card hand, as long as the priest lives after the 2nd turn. We'll see how it goes. Well, at least it's not the occasion generally, or that would have pretty much did us in right there. I'm hoping for maybe a Loyal Cathar, or hopefully it doesn't have a Journey to Nowhere. That would probably be the worst thing for us right now. Yep. It is unfortunate. Well, we'll at least be able to hopefully cycle Distant Melody for a couple of cards. And again, I'm casting this on my turn, just so I can thin my deck more lands, so that way there's less chance I'm going to draw lands next turn. Some people may be wondering why would you want to show your hand necessarily at this point, and the thing is hopefully over the next 2 turns or 3 turns, I'll have played pretty much all of these cards, and there's not really a whole lot of planning that is going to need to do, other than maybe save removal for Branchbender. Or if he happens to be running Mana Tithe, to save Mana Tithe mana for Distant Melody. As much as I really want to block here, actually I think I might. Just because if we get into a race situation, it's not going to be good for me. I think I'll take it, actually. Yeah, that's not going to be good for me. All right. Surprising, I'd actually like to draw a forest next time, just so I could Distant Melody and hopefully cast a green creature. I wonder if there's any. I wonder if it's worth attacking with the 3/3 forest. Is he a green forest? Forest becomes an XX tree folk type. Alright, well that's good for us. At least it's not a green tree folk. Maybe he's gonna bounce Journey to Nowhere. Or maybe not. I guess it's a plane, so we can cast another 2/2 guy. Boil Cathar, maybe. I'm not quite sure. Squadron Hawk. Yeah. Alright, so what do I need to win this game? Pretty much need a miracle. Think about this. I'm going to take 3, 4 if I lay this elf, so I'm going to go to 12. Release one more Squadron Hawk, so he's going to attack for 4, so I have about 2 turns. I'm not sure if I'm going to win this race. I need him to attack with a Core Skyfisher actually next turn, just so I can get some extra damage through or just even trade creatures. That's actually good for me. Hopefully hopefully does not draw planes. So much for that. Hope. Double Squadron Hawk. He's going to go to 23. And I'm really, really hoping he attacks with Core Skyfisher. It's kind of strange to block with the Squadron Hawk. I think I would have not blocked with it. I might cast Razor Golem here too. Oh no, he would have been 2. Well, Unmake will do it too. Well, no, I think he still keeps. No, he could probably attack because he knows he can win the race. Okay, well, let's cast Distant Melody. Not exactly sure what I want, but those particular cards were not exactly what I was hoping for. The good thing is next turn I can lay both Elvish branch benders. But I'm not sure I still win. If I lay both branch benders I go to 10. Skyfisher brings me to 8. He still has 2 unknown cards. We'll see if he blocks the Nettle Sentinel. Kind of hoping he blocks here. So he's not going to block. So he's going to go to. He's going to go to 8, 4. So really only have one more turn. Don't think I have actually any outs. The reason why I'm taking this line is because I already knew, basically, if I just cast the Elvish branch benders, I was going to die. So when you know that way you're pretty much going to die, you might as well take basically your only other option, which was to cast Distant Melody, because I didn't have any other cards in hand. My only other choice, pretty much. Let's see. Cast 2 exploding rocks. I'm still dead. I'm actually just say good game. Move on to the next one. But it's good to note the Sultred Priest pretty much owns us. So we either need to have some way to remove from the board, such as like Hornet Sting, or I'm not even sure if there's any other removal. I think Aeolipile or Aeolifile, that old Homelands common, I believe that's legal. Not ideal, but yeah, so I mean, it is an option. And when playing a format where your options are very limited, you don't necessarily want to just dismiss things. Alright, I think this is okay. Just because they might not be the greatest in, say, other formats. I think we're actually going to go with the branch bender first, and hopefully he'll have Journey to Nowhere or an Unmake for it. Although, yeah, that guy is also bad for us. So again, another good reason for, say, Hornet Sting. Just because, yeah, Queer and Ranger is very good for us, but something's gonna die here pretty fast. Journey Nowhere or Squadron Hawk, maybe. That's not terrible for us. We'd much rather have Timberwatch Elf, just because it frees up our mana. This is also good to note is that he pretty much, his deck plays the control route. So it's good to keep in mind when we're thinking about sideboard cards or sideboard choices, we're probably going to be the beatdown deck in this particular instance. So we want to make sure that we bring in cards appropriately as far as what we want to do. Of course, Skyfisher, no, Squadron Hawk, that's fine. Gideon's Lawkeeper. Well, he's not so bad since we have Queer and Ranger. Especially now that we have 2 Queer and Rangers. So I would think probably the Javelinier is just going to chump block. I don't necessarily recommend chumping with your Squadron Hawks because the thing is you can start attacking, which is ideally what you'd like to do. Although he is the control deck, so maybe he has a core Skyfisher in his hand, knows that he wants to get rid of Queer and Ranger. Thankfully, as long as he doesn't get rid of either one, although if he's got 4 Journey, 2 Unmake, definitely could have another one. We can also punch through for some damage by giving him Trample, so it's possible that maybe I should have done that this time and only cast 1 Queer and Ranger and the Elvish Herder, just to get through some damage, basically. Okay, so that's the reason why I blocked with a Squadron Hawk. He did have another core Skyfisher. Or he had a core Skyfisher, not another one. So we definitely want to use Sylvan Ranger here. We get another elf into play. Thin our deck a little bit more. Alright, well, unfortunately our opponent doesn't know how tapping works. Alright, and just as noted before, always take your games with a grain of salt in the practice room. And this start is very good for us, as long as he doesn't start off with the Acacian Chandelier, as long as he doesn't mulligan into Oblivion and quit on us. And I'm going to say it's probably going to be a concession here. Which is unfortunate. Because we actually had a pretty decent hand here. And by pretty decent, I mean amazing. Alright. Unfortunately, I still haven't had a really chance to test the Strider harness. But I think what I'm going to do is add some sideboard cards just to sort of start testing things out. I definitely feel like we need, or we'd like, oh my god, Hornet Sting. And I'm kind of hoping I have some, because I wasn't sure. So again, I'm not sure how these sideboard cards are gonna go, so I'm gonna just add 4. I know I want thermal karsts for 8 post. I actually like the flashback fog for Moment's Peace against Storm, just because typically if they're going to bring in at least 1 or 2 duress, and that's because people will play Sandstorm, and if you play against a good Storm player, they're going to know, playing against a green deck, there's only going to be really two sideboard cards that they typically bring in. Well, sometimes they bring in thermal karst too, due to the low mana count, but Sandstorm is the bigger one, especially if you're going for the Empty the Warrens win, because Sandstorm will unfortunately kill all of your guys. So, and I want to bring in either Well-Wishers or Essence Runes. So what I'm going to do is, since I sort of want to try all of the cards to see how they're going to be, I'm just going to remove 1 of each, and then sort of depending upon which matchups I get involved in, I can figure out which cards I want to bring in and which cards, hopefully I'll draw them in a sideboarded game, and we'll see which one is better. Oops. we still have Strider harness. Still haven't really seen if that's going to be any good. I feel it could be something else. It may actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe thermal karsts. And the reason why I like thermal karsts, no, this actual hand, I think I'm gonna go for beatdown, instead of sort of accelerating to play my hand, because I can play Forest Nettle Sentinel, play Land Grant to untap them, and not knowing what I'm playing against, going aggro is probably the best choice, because if he stumbles, or if he maybe has a bad draw or an awkward draw, definitely getting in for Ponder with Seed of the Synod. I'm not sure if this is a testing build of Affinity, or if this is like a Esper Trinket Mage deck of some sort. You don't typically see Ponder in affinity builds. Actually, it would have been really nice if we could have got if we could have got Birchlore Ranger. We could have gotten could have got some extra guys into play here. Sylvan Ranger actually, or Priest of Titania. Well, most likely Affinity now. Frogmite is fine. Alright, now that we drew Distant Melody, now I kind of wish I had gone the other way. But we definitely want to get Priest of Titania out there. We actually just want to keep our elves. Volcanic Blast is a possibility. We'll also have to live with that decision if he Volcanic Blast Priest. But ATOG is fine, as long as he doesn't fling it at us. Alright, that's good for us. So we're actually going to go Sylvan Ranger. Yes, for Island. Cast either Finghorn Elves. I really do wish I had the Birchlore Rangers. This would have been some extra mana. But that's alright. Cast Timberwatch is 3, leaves us 3 green. So we're not going to be left any mana, but we'll have fresh new 7. So we basically get to wheel. If anyone's familiar with Wheel of Fortune or Time Twister, Time Spiral, that's basically what we get to do here. We get to cast our entire hand and then draw 7 new cards. Which, if you've been playing Magic any amount of time, drawing 7 new cards is never bad. Alright, this time I don't want to cast Land Grant because I don't want him to see that I have Strider Harness and another Timberwatch Elf, or even just another Priest of Titania. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. Because again, I don't want to attack with the elves necessarily. Actually, I think I have everything to kill him next turn as long as he doesn't kill me. But I'm definitely still going to block with Sylvan Ranger, the ATOG, if he attacks him. Just because I don't want him to sack him up to 10 power and then fling him at me. Or sack him up to, say, 12 power and double Volcanic Blast. But this is looking good for me, especially since he's tapped out of mana. Although, ATOG's probably going to become a 5/6. That would be my guess. He even may just sack Chromatic Sphere to draw another card. But if this priest lives, pretty sure we just win. No, I'm still going to block with Sylvan Ranger. Oh, well, that was probably the absolute best card we could have drawn there. So let's see what we can do here. We're going to go ahead and cast Nettle Sentinel. He doesn't concede right away. I kind of want to see where this is going to go. I'd like to see exactly what we're able to do here at the end. We're going to cast Elvish Herder. I'm going to cast... what do I want to do here? Cast Sylvan Ranger. Could have just cast Priest, that would have been fine too. We're going to tap this Priest for 9 mana, which is good. So we're going to cast Priest. Unfortunately, we haven't got any Quirion Druids, which is unfortunate, but hopefully we'll draw one here in the next pass here. So we can actually cast all of this. Okay, so I'm going to cast Strider Harness. Equip it to the Priest. Tap it for a bunch of mana. 11. I'm actually just going to reveal my hand because it's not going to matter. Cast Distant Melody for Elf. Drop 11 new cards. So we get some Quirion Rangers, which are really good. We even got a branch, Elvish Branch Bender. Fortunately, we did not get Birchlore Ranger, which would even make it more silly at this point, because we could Distant Melody again. But I don't think there's really actually anything else I need to do. I'm just going to cast the rest of my guys just because. And we'll see how far or how high we can get Timberwatch Elf. It's also good to know that we only have 3 more land in our deck, so. And the reason I just want some extra mana, I guess that's excessive extra mana, but yeah, I probably didn't need to do that. But you know, we're having fun with the deck. That's what the deck was here for, is to have fun. And to be competitive. So we should just put this on him. Hope I didn't play that forest this turn. That'll be unfortunate if I can't attack with him. Alright, well, I like Strider Harness there. That was pretty good. I'm trying to think what we want to bring in. Even though Strider Harness was good, I'd like to try some of the sideboard cards. I'd like to try Well-Wisher. I'm kind of concerned about Kraken. What's his name? Iron Kraken Claw, the one red guy that sacrifices an artifact to deal 1 damage to everything. He can actually be a big problem for us. Unfortunately, Hornet Sting is not really a great option for us, but we're gonna give it a try. So, all right, we got one more game here. And hopefully we'll see, this will be with some sideboarded test games, and we'll see how it works. This one's pretty good. Birchlore Ranger, Nettle Sentinels, at least can get some mana. But we'll see. Well, that's unfortunate. I was hoping to get at least one attack in. Priest of Titania is good for us. See how many guys we can get down here. Again, I'm not familiar with all the math as far as Birchlore Ranger goes, but I know we can get at least a couple of guys here. And that's it. I'm actually not going to attack because I'd like to use them for mana next turn. Because basically with the 3 Nettle Sentinels, I can cast the rest of my hand, so that'll be good. Mirror Enforcer, not so concerned about him. Oh, double Mirror Enforcer. Surprised he didn't attack. I would have attacked if I was the affinity player. So we're going to get Forest and Island. We're basically going to just cast the rest of our hand here. Hopefully draw distant melody, although I think I took some out, so that's not necessarily going to happen. Just for the sake of time, just so I don't have to go through as many triggers, I'm just going to actually use my mana. And hopefully maybe good to know to keep distant melody in just because it's such a low since he's so low on removal, typically 4 volcanic blasts and then the Kraka clan, whatever his name is, the one red guy that I was worried about before. This could be potentially bad for us. I'm sure he's looking either for Volcanic Blast or yep, maybe he's running Seismic Shudder, not sure. We'll see. Kind of glad he didn't have a Disciple of Walt in play. We'd be at 16 at this point. Double red. He's going to cast Atog. Can't really think of anything else he's going to cast for double red. Surprised he didn't keep a blue for Thoughtcast, or he's going to give it a Priest. So another one for Well-Wisher? No, that's good. So these attacks won't be as nearly as bad for us. Still not great, but not nearly as bad. Double Well-Wisher is very good for us. Strange that he didn't trade those, but because if he wasn't going to attack with them last turn, you know, why not block this turn? I'm playing the island because he already knows that I drew it, so it's not like I'm bluffing any cards. Atog is okay. So again, he doesn't attack with any of the Frog Mites. Okay, Timberwatch is very good. So I think we're actually going to hold our guys back this time. He was running a lot of mana. Probably almost a third if he's running 16 lands and 4 Lotus Petal. And he definitely does not seem to be very lucky with the thought casts. I'm actually in a Well-Wisher here. Before damage, just in case he has another Volcanic Blast. Although I guess I could have Well-Wishered again in response, but... that was a mistake on my part. Should have kept him back just so I could untap my Nettle Sentinels. But I am going to attack with everything. Strange that he didn't kill Timberwatch instead. 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm sure, does he have Echoing Decay? Nope, just a misclick block, so alright, well, we got our sideboard started. We've sort of changed up from all the other ElfBallv decks. Kind of like Strider Harness. I'm not really missing the Huntsmaster, so next video hopefully we'll get a couple more games in.